Does anyone else kind of prefer to draw on a surface that's not completely flat? If so, I have found that manga is like the perfect thickness to prop up your sketchbooks with. Okay, so today I'm going to go through some of your questions from Instagram. I usually do these monthly Q&As like at the end of every month, but since I started making videos, I thought we could try making a video version. I also want to draw in the sketchbook more. I just started this one. This is the first page, and I actually haven't drawn in a long time, so I'm gonna take the opportunity to draw and answer questions. And this will probably be kind of a long video, so if you want to just like put this in the background and draw along, that's what I would do. But if you want to sit here and watch the whole thing and watch me draw, also chill. Here I just have my Pinterest front page open, not curated or anything. I think I'm just going to draw whatever catches my eye. Okay, so the first question that I got is, do you offer a student discount on your course? And my answer is no, I can't personally offer discounts. All the business is run through Class 101, but they often have seasonal sales. And also I think there's a discount if it's your first time buying a class from their platform. Sometimes they also send me like coupons that I can give my followers specifically, so when I get those I'll post them to my story. You kind of just have to keep an eye on it if you really want a discount. You can also sign up for Class 101's mailing list. They have a lot of deals and you'll get notified when they happen. This is we have started off with an ad for my class. Very good. Okay, the second question is not really a question. First off, I just want to thank you for your Class 101 class. Your thoughts are motivating when making art. I would just like to say thank you to everyone who finds value in this class. It's kind of the first time I feel like I actively had an impact on anyone and helped anyone with their art. So it's really nice to hear that. Okay, let's move on to a question that is not about my class. Okay, number 3. Should you draw gesture drawings slowly or fast? I would say think slowly, draw quickly. When you're doing gestures, you're kind of usually on a time limit, right? When you're really practiced in doing gestures and you kind of know what you're doing, you can kind of just go in and do it intuitively. But when you're still practicing your lines and how you want to define a body, I would say study gestures really slowly. Like, study them without a time limit. Study them from other artists, like the way you want to do them. And then try to apply those to timed studies that the artist hasn't, of poses that the artist hasn't done before. Think slowly, draw quickly. Expanding on that, basically, you want your lines to be confident. Usually when you draw slowly, your lines get wobbly. And so if you notice the way I'm drawing, it's like I might take a while to decide where to put a line, but when I put it down, I do it kind of quickly. So I think you just want to spend some time to consider where you place everything and how you want to do it. But when you do it quickly. And it's also just good to practice different ways to do things. So you can do them slowly, you can do them quickly. When people ask do I do this or this? It's well, both. Just try all of it. Okay, next question. Newbie's guide to anatomy, please. Oh boy. Newbie's guide to anatomy. I think Psychra has a really good video on simplified anatomy. I'm gonna be honest, when I was teaching my class, like the anatomy based videos, I had like about 7 different references for each muscle up at any given time. I haven't studied anatomy really thoroughly. I think it's more important to understand things like gesture and shapes so that you know how to simplify and use anatomy rather than just learning anatomy. But I understand wanting to be able to like just know what's important. But there's no way I can do this right now. Maybe I'll make a video later. But I basically went my entire life up until last summer, I think, not having studied anatomy. So I think you don't really have to study anatomy to do art up to a certain point. If you want to be like a professional character designer, maybe you want to learn anatomy. But even then, like, shapes are more important, and proportions and design sense. So it's like, maybe get into fitness. Once I started caring a little bit more about my health and watching workout videos, when they like do workouts for like different parts of your body, I'm like, oh, so that's that muscle that I drew that one time. Like, it kind of helps. Learning anatomy does help you work out and get better at drawing. So I don't know, there's so many anatomy videos out there. Maybe you just haven't found one that vibes with you. Personally, I learned from Michael Hampton. I basically learned how to draw characters and people entirely from Michael Hampton, so perhaps I'm a Michael Hampton simp. I've accepted it. Okay, next question. Do you use references when designing OCs, or is it more from your imagination? Let me think. I haven't designed OCs in a long time, but I think coming up with the concept, obviously, it's from your brain. It's like, I want to create this kind of character. But then when you're actually designing the specifics of the person, you need to use references to see, like, if they're a specific profession, what kind of things do people of that profession wear? What kind of tools do they use? How, like, what class are they? If they're a magical or fantastical person, like, what typical fantasy wear in that genre looks like? A lot of times how I do it is, like, I think about existing characters that remind me of the character I'm creating, and I'm like, how was this character designed? For example, if I want to create a character, and like, this character is loud and bold and brash, kind of like a typical shonen protagonist, I think about the characters that remind me of that. Maybe like Ryuko from Kill la Kill, or Naruto, or like Devilman Crybaby. And I'm like, I look at the patterns and how they're designed. Like, they kind of all have spiky hair. What else? Is that it? If you have an aggressive character, they just have spiky hair. Or if I'm designing like the opposite of that, like the Sasuke type character who's like kind of aloof and cold, and I want this character to be like Lelouch and Louis from Beastars, and the student council president from Kaguya-sama, I forget his name, I always do, Shirogane. And then you look at the patterns between how they're designed. They usually wear a uniform. It's usually really neat. They usually have a really straight posture with a straight back. Yeah, that's how I do it. I look at characters that inspire this character and kind of have the same vibe, and I look at the way they behave, the way they're designed, the way they like act in the world, I guess, the way their expressions are drawn, and I kind of like model my character off of that. In fact, I think I may have gone overboard doing that once, because this character was inspired by Ryuko from Kill la Kill, and literally someone in the comments was like, I thought this was a male version of Ryuko, and I was like, well, you're not completely wrong. But I feel very called out. I try to draw this one a little bit faster to see if I can just get the outfit down without like worrying about accuracy, because I kind of want to just remember all of these outfits and just draw them to get my hand familiar with drawing them, because a lot of times the only way you're gonna know how to draw anything is by drawing it once. So if you want to add things through Visual Library, you just gotta draw a lot. If I want to draw a lot, I can't be spending as much time as this. Made her backpack so big. It's okay. I can't see the details. You know, I said I wasn't gonna focus on the details, but I did it anyway. It's okay. Okay, let's do another question. Okay, another question about anatomy. I already said what I thought about anatomy. I think there's lots and lots of resources out there for anatomy. I mean, based on the fact that I already got 2 questions about it, means that it's in very large demand. So anatomy is a really broad subject. I tend to think that it's not as important as people might think it is. Okay, here's some actual anatomy tips. To learn anatomy and to get really into learning anatomy, you have got to figure out which part of the body, for a lack of a better word, how do I phrase this without like being just crude? Like, you either find conceptually very sexy or, you know, physically, whatever. But like, you gotta find parts of the body where you're like, damn, I really want to be able to draw this part of the body really well, because you know what, we should just all learn from hentai artists. That's the best way to learn anatomy, is just to get really invested in getting one or a specific part of the body really just the way you want it. Or maybe there's like a certain pose where that part of the body is like, you're like, yes, that is what I like about that. For example, I really like drawing the rib area, like the area that's like right here, and like the contour that is around here. When I get it right, I'm like very happy. I also like drawing ankles and wrists. Like, you can tell by looking at an artist's art which part of the body that is for them. And don't lie to yourself. There are definitely parts of the body where you really want to be able to draw well, because it's gonna make you very happy. Like, sometimes you look at an artist and you're like, this person has a hand fetish. Or you're like, this person really likes drawing thick muscles. You know, just think about what that is for you, and then shamelessly pursue that. Otherwise, you might feel kind of aimless, like, why am I spending so much time like learning how to draw what's a part of the body you don't care about, like the feet? I don't know, like, maybe you don't want to draw feet if you don't care about feet, but maybe if you really like feet, you should spend some time on them. Just saying, it's way easier to be motivated to learn how to draw something that way. Okay, let's find a different thing to draw from. How do I get rid of this? Okay, my front page is mostly just fashion. I'm fine with fashion. There's only one way you're gonna know what people wears, and that's by drawing them. So, you know, I kind of want to draw some motorcycles because I have no idea how to draw motorcycles. Okay, maybe I don't want to draw motorcycles. I think I need my full brain power to understand this. Okay, never mind. Let's just stick with the front page. I think they know what's best for me. Let's get some weirder fashion in here. Like, what is this? Okay, next question. Coloring tips. I think I did some coloring tips in my last story Q&A. Basically, I just said to steal colors. I think colors is the one thing I haven't really properly studied yet, even though I took a class on it in college. But I just feel like color is, you can learn it objectively, but when it's like comes down to execution, it's all subjective. This here has a good color combination if you wanted to figure out what kind of purple goes good with what kind of red, with what kind of like skin tone. And it's never the colors you would have picked like on your own, just looking at a color wheel. So I would just take this, put it into Photoshop or CSP, maybe pixelize it, but oftentimes I'll just like pick colors because we already know these colors work together well. When it comes to designing characters or scenes and considering what colors to use, I would say think about what you want the viewer to focus on. Kind of follow the 80-20 rule. Like 80% of the scene is one color or one hue or one saturation or one value. And then like 20% of it is what you want them to look at. And that 20% of it is like a different color, way lighter than the rest of the image, or like way more saturated. Honestly, that kind of thinking saves you a lot of work, because you're just like 80% of the image is gonna be this one thing, and then I'll put like majority of my effort into the 20% that I want people to actually look at. Okay, next question. Favorite anime or games? I really like anime that's... Okay, I draw a lot of fan art for like shonen-y, action-y type shows. I think the first time I really drew a lot of fan art was for Banana Fish, but I actually don't think about Banana Fish that much anymore. I heard there's a stage play out. I watched some of it. Brings back memories. And the second time was Skate. Do you notice a pattern? Okay, well, those are the type of shows that I like drawing for, but they're not necessarily like my favorite shows. I actually like shows that are like, I don't know, I like nostalgic shows. So a lot of my favorite shows older. I say one of my favorites of all time is Soul Eater. Soul Eater did everything I wanted to do in a show. It's just so... It just knows exactly what it is, you know? And it's very swaggy. There's lots of cool action sequences. It's just so cool. Like, they took the concept of cool and they put it into an anime, and that's what happened. And I'm like, yes. Although I understand that the manga went in a completely different direction in the end, but we're talking about anime here. The anime was very well crafted as an anime. I also really liked Great Pretender. Basically, when I see a show and I'm like, God damn it, I wish I made that, then it's like my favorite show. Great Pretender was one of those. It was just really well designed and really good at like guiding viewer expectations. Favorite games? The first game I really got into was Hades because everybody said it was very good and they were right. I was never much of a gamer. Like Hades legit was probably like the first game I ever played. And then recently I got Genshin. Probably because I really wanted to avoid my responsibilities once again. That's usually why I do games. I need to like figure out how to have a healthier relationship with games. But yeah, I got Genshin. I got Beidou. I was very happy. I was like, yes, my queen. My favorites are Beidou and Kaya. I think I have a type with like ex-pirates with eye patches who are like captains. Last night I pulled Razor and I was very happy. My little wolf boy. But before I played Genshin, I didn't really like the character design. I thought it was really excessive. Like, when I think about RPG games and the way their characters are designed, it's like completely opposite of like what you're taught in school or what people teach you online. JRPG, or like, I don't really know what Genshin is, like a gacha game. Like the character designs are really intricate and complicated, and they're all conventionally attractive, which makes us want to collect them and spend our money. But you know, after getting into Genshin, it's like whatever, I'll simp. I admit. Okay, next question. What is the hardest part of being an artist? Well, it kind of depends on what you think being an artist means. Like being a professional artist who uses art to make money, because there's troubles that come with that aren't present with just drawing for fun. I definitely had a lot of issues like dealing with the transition between having art as like my thing and then having art as like something I use to deliver value to other people, and still in that phase of trying to figure out how to merge those two things. I think the hardest part of art, well, if you consider social media, if you're very easily distracted or affected by social media, I would say staying authentic to yourself is kind of hard. If you're constantly consuming other people's art and external media, it can be difficult to lose your own voice and remember what it is that you actually want to make. And also, if you're a student with parents who want you to do other things than art, it can be difficult to like overcome a certain stigma that art has of being not an actual job, but like it's kind of like a phase. If you don't want to do art for a living, it's like also fine. I think defining what art means to you can be a challenge, but once you figure that out, you're good. So okay, I want to do something else. I haven't drawn a boy yet. Give me boy. Oh, okay. Cowboys. Why not? Okay, next question. How do you make your work look more professional? Well, it depends on what you mean by professional. I think there are lots of ways. Okay, professional art probably refers to polish and rendering in most cases, but also there's lots of people working where their art doesn't have to be polished. I don't know, you see a lot of like animations on YouTube, like animators who have a very crude style, but they still are very popular and they get work because they have interesting ideas. How to make your work look more professional is probably how you treat it. Like, that's what I think. If you think your work is professional, then it is. But if you always think you're a student or you think you're just a hobbyist, then that's probably how other people are also gonna see you. So I think it's just your attitude surrounding art. How do you get over perfectionism in your drawings? I think the way you get over perfectionism is realizing that you can just draw it again. Like, draw so much that each drawing doesn't matter. I mess this up, whatever, I can just draw it again. Or I'll just move on to the next one. Yeah, just overwhelm yourself with volume so that you forget your mistakes. I think that was a problem that I've faced in the last few months because I really didn't draw that much. And so whenever I decided to draw, I felt like it was an event. Like it was something special that I had to use all of my power for. When actually you should just draw so much and make so much art that it doesn't matter if one thing turns out wrong, because you're just gonna move on to the next one. Okay, next question. Advice you give your younger artist self. Let's say, okay, well, I just graduated college. Those of you from my class are gonna cringe, but I would probably say just put in your due diligence. When I was younger, like in high school or like in the middle of college, just starting college, it was kind of this state where like I had not put in that much work in actually studying and trying to understand art, but I still wanted people to acknowledge me as being good, even though like I had put like very little work into actually trying. I talk about this a little bit more in my class, but it's like the cause, or kind of like it's kind of related to imposter syndrome, except it's the opposite. You think you're good and you think you deserve a lot of attention and praise, but you've done nothing to deserve it. If that's you, check yourself and then actually start putting work in. I mean, you probably already know if that's you or not. If you're insecure and you're not sure if that's you, it's probably not. This is like having too big of an ego and feeling like entitled to success when you haven't done anything to deserve it. But you know, what can I do? I'm just a little overconfident sometimes. It's just that in the last few years I've like sat down and properly looked into this subject that I probably should have a long time ago. I still kind of am that person for a lot of other subjects, just not art. But kind of like once you understand how to learn one thing in the process of like seeing active improvement, then it kind of starts to affect every area of your life. And anything else you want to learn, you're like, easy. I've gone from 0 to 100 before. I'll just do it again. What are we talking about? Advice I'd give to my younger self. In a lot of ways, I think she did a lot of things right. So, not sure if I want to tell her anything too spicy. Okay, next question. How long do you draw for every day? Well, in the last few months, I basically haven't drawn at all. And just getting back into it by doing this. I guess it was burnout, but it was probably a combination of like a lot of things. Like graduating art school and having to reflect on what I actually want to do with art, like how I want to make art an actual career, how I felt about the animation industry, or just like any industries in general, and then also coming off of like teaching the class and how I wanted to like move on from that, and I didn't know how, so I just kind of didn't draw for a long time and instead spent a while like consuming content and like replenishing my energy. So I watched a lot of shows that I liked, played a lot of games, spent a lot of time absorbing the world and things that I enjoyed, and I think I'm ready to start doing art again. If you followed me, if you saw my stories from like last month's Q&A, I did have a little bit of a crisis. because I couldn't figure out like why art, like why am I making art? I didn't understand. How long do I want to draw every day? Probably like at least 3 to 4 hours. That's ideal. I think that's the maximum amount of time you can like stay focused on a subject without like making yourself really tired. Like put his elbow in the wrong location. It's okay. His leg is just gonna be higher. And actually, I think a lot of professional artists don't draw as much as you think they do. There's kind of been a lot of stuff going around Twitter lately. I don't really spend that much time on Twitter, but I saw some people were talking about, like professional artists were talking about how they didn't really do art for fun anymore. And I was like, this is depressing, but also true. And so I think it's important to figure that out for yourself if you're gonna do art for a profession. And kind of understand that if you do art as a job, it's a job. You can also enjoy it, but first and foremost, it's like any other job that you might have. Okay. Next, any tips on growing on social media besides being consistent? Okay. Get in touch with the zeitgeist. Understand what it is that people want to see in the moment. Also, I think talking to other artists is really important. This is something I've been thinking about lately, is that we have a hard time understanding and committing to individual creators sometimes. We like to integrate ourselves into networks and communities, especially as a fan. You know, over the last few months I watched a lot of streamers. The most successful streamers are the ones who also interact with a lot of other streamers, and so you're integrated into this network where it's not just one creator. You understand who this person is in relation to other people. So if you want to grow your own platform, you should probably interact with other artists. Eventually you'll probably interact with artists who are like a lot bigger than you, and they might like give you a little boost. But I would say start with the people around you, your peers. When I think about my social media growth, the biggest boosts came from, one, I drew a lot for Banana Fish. Associating yourself with something bigger is going to automatically bring people in because they associate you with that thing. So for a while, it became known as like one of the Banana Fish artists. And that was the first time I made a lot of mutuals with people that I really admired because they also liked Banana Fish and we could bond over that. Second time, I just started posting a lot, like you said, consistently, and then interacting a lot with other artists who are bigger than me, who became my mutuals. And then there's a lot of like art friend events, like draw your friends OCs or something like that, and it's like sharing communities. People can discover you that way. And the last thing is what I said in the beginning, which is like being in touch with the zeitgeist, knowing what kind of content people like. Sometimes I know when a post is going to blow up because I've experienced it a few times, so I understand what it is that people like to see and what it is about my art that can do that. Going back to the Banana Fish example, the first time a post of mine ever blew up was the Banana Fish ending. Not gonna spoil anything, but like it was a pretty impactful ending that I knew lots of people were gonna have strong feelings about. And I had read the manga already, so I kind of drew like a epilogue to the ending that I knew that people were going to resonate with, and that was the first time a post of mine blew up. After that, kind of just keep doing that. Be an opportunist. See opportunities where you can make work that you know is going to touch a nerve in the zeitgeist. of whatever it is that you're doing. Ooh, Wonder Egg. Apparently the last episode of Wonder Egg came out today and it's 50 minutes long. So after I finish this, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay. Next question. We're almost done. What motivates you to keep drawing? Well, as we discussed, I didn't draw for a long time, but the reason I came back is because I realized that when I don't draw, I feel really bad. Like, the more I deny myself the act of making art, the worse I feel, and I did that for about like half a year, I would say. And so it's kind of just self-care at this point. Like, I have to draw or else I feel bad. It's kind of like the cheesy quote where it's like, if the way you know that someone truly loves you is that you let them go, and if they come back, it's meant to be. It's like me and art. If I stop doing art and I start feeling really bad, then I know that I have to keep on doing art. Related to that, I think that making art and drawing is a way of understanding yourself. Like, when the period for where I didn't draw for a long time, I kind of didn't know who I was. Like, that sounds really dramatic. But, like, the reason we draw is to be able to like express what is inside of us that we might not even understand yet. And so by not drawing and not making art, it's like suffocating yourself. And it doesn't feel good. And when you do draw, it's like, oh, so this is who I am. This is what I make. Okay, the last question is, how are you so cool? It's just who I am. Let's finish off this drawing. I am filming this like about 12 hours after I posted the prompt, so there could be more questions now, but last time I checked there weren't any. I would say it's safe that we have addressed all of the ones that are from dedicated followers. If you made it this far into the video, that's you. As you can tell, well, you know, if you've made it this far into the video, I can kind of talk about whatever, right? Only the true homies are still listening. I kind of want to finish this drawing before I end the video, so yeah. I filmed a sketchbook tour 2 days ago for my college sketchbooks, but there's really not that much art in them. And that's like the only thing I talked about was like how little art there was in them. They're mostly notes and little scribbles that I did during lecture, because during college I didn't really draw like purposefully in a sketchbook. I haven't properly done sketchbooking probably since high school. Every time I open a sketchbook, it's mostly not to make art, but more to like take notes or to do gestures. Which I think it's good for a sketchbook to like not have this pressure of being a place where you make perfect art, but rather a place for you to brainstorm and make mistakes and learn. But also I think it's cool when like people are really just trying to draw, you know? And that is not what I did during college. I don't know how this is related to anything, but the other day I binged Moriarty, the Patriot, that anime about like Moriarty, obviously, from Sherlock. I had been avoiding it for so many seasons because I thought it was something that it turned out not to be. You know, there are lots of like pretty boy detective shows. I mean, there's literally one like this season called like Pretty Boy Detectives or something, where it's like attractive dudes solving mysteries, and I thought that's what it was, but then I like gave up and watched it, and it turned out not to be that at all. It was like really well produced and really good. Like the production quality was really consistent throughout the whole thing, and also I just love characters like Moriarty. I also like Albert. Kind of just like all of them. Like it's really morally gray, and I really like that. I don't want to make too big of a comparison, but it's kind of like if Lelouch actually had a group from the beginning who trusted him and supported him like the entire series. Like imagine if Suzaku. This is getting really like, if you never watched Code Geass or Moriarty, it's like, I'm sorry, but it's kind of like if Suzaku trusted Lelouch from the beginning and they worked together the entire time. Like that, the energy in that show is like so impeccable. It's just enabling people to like take revenge. Oh yeah, Luna came back. Man, I'm just talking about whatever the heck I want to. It's not even art related at all. But Luna's come back. I was very happy. Very happy to see Hustle back. Okay, I think we're done. Trying out something new, doing more chill videos like this. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do YouTube. I think I started really impulsively, and then as I made more videos, I'm like, but actually, I need to figure out like what I actually want to do. What I want to do is I want to talk to a lot of my art friends. I want to interview my art friends and my art mutuals, because I think, like I said, with the social media thing, it's easier to understand someone when they're in conversation with someone else. And so I want to talk to some friends, bring some people onto the show who like, maybe I say show, like just talk to me, who I think a lot of artists know, but like haven't been able to share their thoughts like in a video form. I'll start this series after I move. I'm moving, I think August, and so it's gonna be a while, but that's the plan. I really want to talk to some cool mutuals who, you know, I really like listening to interviews and hearing different artists share their thoughts. So I wanna do that with some friends. Yeah, that's what's coming. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this, hope you drew, and I will see you in whatever the next video might be.